In today's video, I wanted to go over air intakes for the VQ35DE. The reason I haven't talked much about the air intake in my previous videos is there's a lot of controversy around it. It's a pretty well-known fact. I know Rob over in Dallas who did the dynoing the mist out of air intakes, and every air intake he did was a short air intake. None of them were a long tube. And it was right. All the short air intakes made less power than the OEM rev-up box, which has the velocity stack in it. So it's a pretty well-known fact that OEM air intake system basically makes the most power. So the reason I stuck with my Injen cold air intake is because I did some data logs. And when I did data logs, let's see here, as you can see, when I did data logs, the cold air intake, the one with the filter that goes down in front of the bumper, down there, under full load, that means when you're fully depressing the accelerator, the temperature would be 3 degrees above ambient. What that means is it's 3 degrees above the outside temperature when I mash it. Yes, you see it climb all the way up to 113. That means at idle it could climb up almost as 40 degrees. That's why I put this DEI heat tape on it, to try to slow down the heat soak. So, today's video, what I'm going to talk about is, yes, I'm giving you a little background on this current cold air intake. The problem with it is I measured this. This is a 3.5 inch pipe actually, and then it tapers down to 3 right here, and then down by the mouth it goes to 2.78 inches. So I saw plenty of dyno videos out there, and I'll show you my dyno sheet here. Dyno videos out there where they're making about 24 wheel horsepower with just an OEM box. And if you look here, here's my overlay from before and after. I made 246, well actually 245, and then 269. So with all my supporting mods, like basically everyone else had, test pipes, resonated test pipes actually, NVIDIA Gemini exhaust, MREV2, 5/16 spacer and a tune, I gained 24 wheel horsepower and 35 wheel torque, which is basically what the same people were getting with the OEM air intake box. So given an OEM air intake box, when you actually do data logs to see the temperature, under full load, an OEM box will do 10 to 20 degrees above outside temperature. This one that actually goes down in front of the bumper will do 3 degrees above the outside temperature under full load. Colder air makes more power. So even on the dyno, it didn't really make any more power. It made exactly the same as an OEM box. It's still sucking colder air. So the reason I'm making this video and the decision that I'm making is there's no sponsorship here. I'm not sponsored by either LMT or Admin Tuning. I'm just using my observations on why I think Admin Tuning is the best air intake to go with. So that's what I will be doing and posting a dyno video. Here's the current intake he sells, which is a short air intake. It's a 3.5 inch, and what's different about these, as soon as you get these air intakes, you have to get a tune. Because the math goes from 2.78 to 3.5. So once that happens, you have to tune it or the car will not run. So why I'm going with Admin is I've been talking to him. He's actually developed a new air intake, a long tube one like this. So here it is, and I'm going to be dynoing it and testing it out. Since I know long tube air intakes, they're about 3 degrees above ambient temperature. That's what I wanted to go with. His short air intake like this has plenty of dyno graphs showing about 16 wheel horsepower gains, and that's on cars that have already been tuned. So here's why I'm not going with limp mode tuning, which is his biggest fan is OP Drags, which is actually sponsored by limp mode tuning. It's kind of hilarious. His channel, he's had 2 years to make some dyno results, and he has yet to produce. So they keep coming up with excuses. He did 250 wheel horsepower 2 years ago, and just last week he went to go get his car dynoed and he did 250 wheel horsepower. And the funny thing is this car won't run unless that intake is tuned, and the car was running, so that means it was tuned. It comes back, apparently it's a false knock sensor reading and they didn't go 100%. So as soon as I see a dyno video proving otherwise, this limp mode tuning hasn't proven anything. It just makes 0 horsepower. Maybe 1 or 2 wheel horsepower, that's within the noise. If you look out on limp mode tuning, they only have 2 dyno graphs. And here's their dyno graph claim to fame. So what's crazy about it is you look over here, Pat's the guy that makes these intakes. He even talks about it over here saying this car was not tuned prior to this. If you just tune a car with no mods on it, it'll basically make 10 wheel horsepower. So that this car wasn't tuned prior to this makes this not impressive. He's showing a gain of 23 wheel horsepower, and it's at 246 on the dyno. So they argue that this dyno is independent, blah blah blah. This is Saul McKnight's dyno over in California, the same exact dyno that Admin Tuning uses. See, Saul McKnight. So if you look here, this car was actually tuned prior to this air intake, and it was able to make 16 wheel horsepower. And we're talking about a non-rev here. So now look at these numbers. That's a 265. The base pull was a 249. On limp mode tuning, if you look here, he talks about this car having the same issue. Oh man, I think there's a knock sensor issue with this. Oh well, I might as well post it. So he talks about up here where he says the car did really low numbers, like 200, 205, what was it, 208? Because obviously with that 4-inch intake it wouldn't run. So if you look at the overall number, it made 246 on the exact same dyno, a non-rev, while Admin Tuning's made 265. So he's saying this delta of 23 wheel horsepower, he's just holding on to it like it's something impressive. This is a very fishy dyno chart, and he doesn't have any other ones, which makes it even sound like more smoke and mirrors. So if you're watching this video, Pat, and you want to show me some proof other than your YouTube channel where you race a couple neons, show me a dyno graph. So I'm excited here for Admin Tuning. He's made a new air intake instead of his short air intake, which is proven to do 16 wheel horsepower on top of the tune. Cars that have already been tuned, have full breather mods, is how you're going to do this. Test pipes, obviously. So he's come up and developed this long tube air intake, which he has yet to do any testing for, so it may even make more power or just the same. We're going to find out here. And again, I'm not sponsored by Admin Tuning. He deserves all the money for this air intake for making a great product. When you're not selling at a reseller, the reason for that is they take out of your margins. Z1's a reseller, Concept Z's a reseller. That has no factor on implication of if this product is fishy or not, because that's also something OP Drags will argue, which has no valid point, but I thought I'd bring it up. So this is a dyno chart. As you can see, we've gone over 16 wheel horsepower with 13 wheel torque gains. Okay, now let's remember, no one's done full Motordyne yet with this air intake, and by full Motordyne I mean full Motordyne. MREV2, 5/16 spacer, ART pipes, and the Shockwave. Let's go over what I did on the dyno. So on mine I did on the Mustang dyno, 245 wheel horsepower and 211 pound-feet of torque to the wheels. So now, here's my overlay, and what really matters is the gain that you get. On my very first tune, that gain was 24 wheel horsepower and 35 pound-feet of torque to the wheels. This is the overlay, and there you can see as the curve is gradually increased to the left. So, yes, this was done on a Mustang dyno, and it came out at 269, right? So, my other dyno run was done on a dyno pack. Dyno jets are known to read high. On a dyno pack, it did 271 to the wheels. So when I came to this dyno pack, I was doing exactly 269 to the wheels on a Mustang dyno. So I put 271 down. I didn't even use that into consideration when factoring my numbers. I used gain as the number to consider. So since I used gain, on this dyno I gained 13 wheel horsepower and 10 pound-feet of torque. So that's where I came up with my 37 wheel horsepower, 45 wheel torque. Just wanted to bring it up that even though people will point out and say, well, that's a hub dyno, that 283 wheel horsepower is an inaccurate number. Not if you're going by the gain from each different dyno run. So I just wanted to show that even though the Mustang dyno read at 269, I read got at 271 with nothing changed to the car at all, the exact same mods as a baseline on this hub dyno before I actually had it tuned for Motordyne Shockwave and Motordyne ART pipes. That was the only thing that was changed to get it up to 283 wheel horsepower from 269, 270. And those final numbers were on a hub dyno, a dyno pack, just like Saul McKnight's dyno. So they're getting around 265, and I got 283 without the air intake. So I'm curious to see what admin tunings will do. I'll definitely be posting my results, and I'm very confident after speaking with him it'll do very well. So let's remember my baseline tune was 245, so I gained 37 wheel horsepower and 45 wheel torque without an intake. So we will find out what this does. I'll be getting a tune here when the furnace cools down. It's 115 in Phoenix right now while I make this video. It's extremely hot, and I'll be posting it here in a couple months. So everybody, thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later. That's violent. Well, Motordyne, she don't want to play around.